I grew up in a Unitarian Universalist household, and each year we would have a rather quick Passover Seder at home. My dad, whose parents were very connected to their cultural Jewish community, despite being staunch atheists, would always tell me how lucky I was that I didn't have to attend the large Seders that he always did, where he would wait hours going through every part of the story before he got to eat. Much of the Passover ritual centers deprivation and suffering, as it is a remembrance of my ancestors' time as slaves and their rushed escape, as we heard. And so I felt deeply neutral about the dry, flavorless matzah bread, and I could barely keep the tiny morsel of horseradish down that I was required to eat every year. But despite those road bumps, I overall looked forward to the ritual and to the meal, which featured sweet apple charoset, roast meat, and matzo ball soup. Beyond the story of suffering and eventual freedom, one aspect of the ritual that always stuck with me was one of generosity and openness: Elijah. Elijah, I was told, was a prophet. We didn't know him, but we always poured him a glass of wine and left the door open in case he wanted to stop by. This, more than the words that we would say about how we should always welcome the hungry and the lonely to our Seder, always made an impression on me from a young age. We never left our front door open. And who was going to drink that wine? When I was a young child, I thought this was kind of funny, like Santa Claus without the presents. But in hindsight, it changed how I saw the holiday in an important way. Our Seder was almost always just the four of us, my nuclear family. And we didn't even know very many other people who celebrated. It was easy for it to feel like a private observance. But Passover is fundamentally communal. The story is about a marginalized community running off into the desert together. You can't survive 40 years in the desert alone. You need a community who can help you out. And as Exodus tells it, you need a God who will give you just enough guidance, water, and manna to keep you alive. And maybe that's the Passover message that we all need this year. There are a number of deserts that our society needs to cross. There are problems like climate change, scapegoating of transgender people, and anti-democratic power grabs that are probably going to get worse before they get better. None of us is making our way to the promised land alone. And there might be some dark times coming when we wonder if we can make it to the other side of that desert and build a better world. But if we are going to make it, it's going to have to be together.